This Week in Connecticut with Dennis House starts now.
Welcome to This Week in Connecticut. Greetings, everyone. I'm Dennis House. Straight ahead today, President Trump returns to power in Washington. Do state lawmakers think it will impact the legislative session in Connecticut? We'll ask State Representative Matt Blumenthal and State Senator Ryan Fazio. Also, the end of an era. The leader of the state Democratic Party is leaving. Nancy DiNardo joins me. Plus, rewriting the Constitution. Hartford attorney Richard Order has a new book about what should be done. But first, the legislative session underway at the state capitol. First up on This Week, the lead. Lawmakers are talking about the budget, your money, and President Trump. We are joined now by State Representative Matt Blumenthal, a Democrat, and State Senator Ryan Fazio, a Republican. And first of all, gentlemen, thanks for being with us here today, and congrats on your re-elections last fall.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Yes, I got to see both of you at the opening day of the session. So how's it going so far, the session?
I think it's good so far. We're very busy and we're very focused on the issues that matter to the state. We're getting started with our committees. I'm helping co-chairing the Government Administration and Elections Committee and also the Reproductive Rights Caucus again. And we've got our priorities and we're starting to work on them.
On the Republican side, because you're the minority party, how's it going for you so far?
Well, the legislative session for viewers goes from January through June. So this is the very beginning. All of us just completed writing and submitting our proposed bills. We're going to start public hearings here soon where the public can give input on what they think is a good idea or a bad idea or a priority or not. From there, we pass bills out of committee, and then things go to the full House floor, Senate floor, and then to the governor. But as Republicans, we're trying to prioritize the things that matter to our constituents, especially affordability and economic growth.
And what's at the top priorities for you in terms of what you'd like to see passed this year?
Well, I'd like to see us protect our budgetary guardrails and reduce the long-term tax burden on middle-class families, reduce the cost of electricity for Connecticut families, which is among the highest in the country, improve health care access, reduce health care costs, and protect local control of decision-making for towns and cities so they can choose their own destiny.
The governor has been talking about the high cost of electricity. What can Democrats do about it?
Well, I think we've got a couple ideas. I think we've got two priorities this session. One is affordability and the other is protecting and defending our values. On the affordability front, electricity is one of the foremost issues. And one of the things we can do is better vet and regulate our utilities, especially with regard to costs related to transmission and local delivery. One of the things I've been working on personally has been reforming the oversight of the Siting Council, which vets and provides oversight to construction projects on which the utilities get a 9.78% guaranteed return. And it's important that those projects be vetted thoroughly and that they're in the interest of the ratepayers and the people of Connecticut. Last year, we passed a bill to reform the Siting Council and reform that process, and I'm looking forward to co-authoring and helping lead passage of other legislation that will happen this session on that subject.
And how closely do the two parties work together? Because obviously you have a majority, you're the minority. They eventually can outvote you. But how close is the relationship, with some of the Democrats?
Listen, it varies. Sometimes we just have to agree to disagree. But my relationships with my colleagues across the aisle have always been extremely constructive. They've become friends over time. And sometimes, yes, we have strong disagreements. And, I'd love to see the legislature do more, the majority party do more to drive down cost of living, especially electric bills and taxes in the long term. But we recognize that good people can disagree on issues related to policy. And it's our job to make the best argument possible, try to come together when possible, but also agree to disagree when we need to.
We've been talking about it, the Trump factor. Governor Lamont went to the inauguration in Washington. He's hoping to have a decent relationship with the White House. But how do you see the Trump factor playing into legislation here in our state?
Well, I really hope it doesn't to the greatest extent possible. One of the good traditions we have in Connecticut is one of collegiality and unlimited debate. I think we make each other's bills better, even ultimately when we don't agree on them. I think the fact that Trump is in office and the fact of what he has run on, his agenda, is going to cause us to have to actually take some measures to protect Connecticut residents from what he's planning to do. That's specifically with regard to reproductive rights. We'll have to probably update our Reproductive Freedom Defense Act to ensure that people's reproductive health care is protected to the maximum here in Connecticut that is possible. I think we'll also have to take measures to ensure that our communities are protected and our rights are protected more generally against some of the overreaches I think we're likely to see. That being said, I think we do have to work on issues that benefit the people of Connecticut where we can, with whomever we can, and that includes Donald Trump.
Is that legislation already in the works?
Yep, we're already working on our legislative agenda on the Reproductive Rights Caucus, and we're also working on other bills in our committees to do that sort of thing as well.
There are some Republicans who are out there saying, listen, he may not have won Connecticut, but he is elected president, and we should, take that in mind as we, look into some of the things that should be passed in our state.
Well, listen, we wish the president luck, and we wish the new members of Congress luck over the next 2 and 4 years. And as a state, we should work with them wherever we can. As state legislators, we have a responsibility to make state policy as good as possible. And all of us, whether in the federal government or state government, swear an oath to the Constitution of the United States in addition to the Constitution of the state of Connecticut. So we have those obligations, and whether we have a Democrat or a Republican in the White House, as state legislators, as state officials, we need to work as hard as we can to make Connecticut state policy the best as possible, while also working with the federal government where necessary.
You're in a difficult position, though, because you might have to support something in Connecticut, perhaps one of these bills that Representative Blumenthal is talking about, that would offer protections, for instance, reproductive rights that the president may be opposed to. Where do you stand on that?
Oh, well, listen, I don't think my job's difficult in that we look at every single issue on the merits. What's good for Connecticut? What's good for our residents? And, earnest people can disagree on the substance, but we have an obligation to focus on the substance. So sometimes we're going to agree with a Democrat or a Republican president, sometimes we're going to disagree, but 95% of the things we do in Hartford don't really relate to the federal government. They're independent decisions that the state has the right and responsibility to make. And by focusing on state issues, I think that's where we stand the chance at making Connecticut as successful as possible, because we have a lot to do in Connecticut. We can't accept the 3rd highest electric bills, the 2nd highest taxes, and any other number of problems that we need to solve to metastasize. We need to have reform, and hopefully we can come together across the aisle to make it happen.
More people voted for President Trump in Connecticut this most recent go-around than 4 years ago. Do you take that into consideration at all, that perhaps the electorate in our state is changing a little bit?
I think we have to constantly be in touch with the people we represent. I was very proud and glad to have won by similar margins that I have in the past, if not greater ones. So hopefully that's something that will continue. But more generally, I think we have to be very in tune with what people care about here in Connecticut on the ground. And those things include cost of living, including both utilities and also housing. It includes protecting our values, reproductive rights, LGBTQ rights, and ensuring that everyone feels welcome in our communities. And so I think we have to be in tune with those responses of the electorate, with our constituents, and we need to work together to the greatest extent possible to accomplish those for our people.
The next big race coming up is the race for governor. Who would you like to see from your party run for governor?
Well, I'm not sure. We'll see in a couple of years who puts their foot forward, but I think we do need more Republicans in this state government. I think good things happen when there's balance. Having super majorities, things can tend to get too one-sided, where you end up with high cost of living. But I think that's too far away to even prejudge.
Well, it's going to start this summer. You're fairly well known. Would you see yourself running for statewide office?
Oh, I love the job I have right now. I love being in the state Senate. I'll never say no to anything, but I really love the job I have, and it's way too early for anyone to guess who's going to run or prognosticate.
Well, I'm going to ask anyway. Representative Blumenthal, would you like to see Ned Lamont run for a 3rd term?
I think he's done a great job, and if he wants to do it, I think he should, and I would support him.
Matt Blumenthal and Ryan Fazio, State Senator, State Representative, we appreciate you being on the program today. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Coming up, do you think the Constitution needs to be rewritten? A local author says yes. We'll be right back with that and more.